In the middle of the Ordos Desert in northern China, there is a city designed for 1 million people. It has marble theaters, massive sports stadiums, and sprawling residential towers that stretch into the horizon. But if you walk down its 8-lane highways at noon, the only sound you'll hear is the wind hitting the glass. There are no cars, no children playing, no life. This is Kangbashi, and it's not an ancient ruin. It's brand new. But Kangbashi isn't an outlier. Right now, across the globe, we are witnessing a strange, silent pandemic. From the luxury Disney castles of Burj Al Babas in Turkey to the high-tech empty shells of Forest City in Malaysia and the trillion-dollar line in the Saudi desert, we are building cities for people who don't exist, using money we don't actually have. You might think this is just a weird architectural quirk or a foreign government's mistake. It's not. This is a story about your bank account, the stability of the global financial system, and the terrifying math of sunk cost. In the next 20 minutes, we're going to look behind the curtain of the world's most expensive mistakes. We'll see how a simple housing project can threaten to topple the world's second-largest economy, why countries are addicted to building things they know will fail, and why the ghost city pandemic is actually a symptom of a much larger, much darker financial terminal illness. If you've ever wondered why your rent is sky high while millions of apartments sit empty across the ocean, you're about to find out. To understand why a government would spend billions on a city no one lives in, we first have to understand what a city actually is. In a healthy economy, a city is a byproduct. People move to a place because there are jobs. Jobs exist because there is trade. Trade happens because of demand. You build the houses because the people are already there, or at least they are on their way. But in the last 20 years, the world's economic leaders decided to flip the script. They decided that building the city could be the cause of the growth, not the result of it. Imagine you're a local official in a developing province. Your success is measured by one thing: GDP growth. If the economy grows by 8%, you get a promotion. If it stays flat, you're out. You can't wait 30 years for an organic tech hub to grow. You need growth now. So you take out a massive loan from a state-owned bank, hire a construction firm, and start pouring concrete. Suddenly, your GDP spikes. You've created thousands of construction jobs. You've bought millions of tons of steel. On paper, you are a genius, but there's a catch. Once the city is built, someone has to live there. If no one moves in, you can't pay back the loan. And that's where the ghost starts to appear. This is the build it and they will come fallacy. It's a gamble where the stakes are trillions of dollars. But why does the gambling keep happening? Let's look at China. For decades, the Chinese economy has been a construction site. Real estate accounts for nearly 30% of their entire GDP. To put that in perspective, in the United States, that number is closer to 13%. China has built enough empty apartments to house the entire population of France. But here's the twist: almost all of those apartments are sold. In the West, we view a house as a place to live that might also be an investment. In China, a house is a golden bar made of concrete. Because the Chinese stock market is volatile and capital controls make it hard to invest overseas, the middle class puts every cent of their savings into real estate. They buy a second apartment, a third, a fourth. They don't care if it has a kitchen or if the plumbing works. They don't even care to rent it out. They just want the price to go up. This creates a surreal reality. You have sold-out skyscrapers where not a single light is on at night. They are ghost cities full of owners, but empty of residents. It's a speculative bubble so large it defies human logic. But then, the music stops. Think about Evergrande, once the biggest property developer in the world, now a symbol of a collapsing empire. They followed a simple rule: borrow money to build apartments, use the deposits from those apartments to borrow more money, and build even more. It was a perpetual motion machine until the government realized the debt was so high it threatened the entire nation's survival. They tightened the screws, the cash flow dried up, and the machine exploded. Now millions of Chinese citizens are left holding the bag for apartments that may never be finished, in cities that may never be populated. This isn't just a real estate problem. This is a generational wealth wipeout. But don't think for a second this is just a China problem. This pandemic has spread to every corner of the map, fueled by the same drug: cheap debt. Let's travel to Turkey. Deep in the mountains of the Bolu province, there is a valley filled with hundreds of identical, miniature Disney-style castles. It looks like a fever dream. This is Burj Al Babas. It was designed as a luxury getaway for wealthy Gulf investors. The developers didn't look at the local demand. They didn't care if the local Turkish population could afford them. They chased hot money. But when the Turkish lira plummeted and the geopolitical climate shifted, the investors vanished. The developer went bankrupt. Now 500 castles sit rotting in the mud. Why didn't they stop halfway? Why keep building when you see the demand fading? This is the psychology of the sunk cost. If you've already spent $100 million on a project, admitting it's a failure means losing $100 million. But if you spend another $50 million, you can tell yourself and your investors that it's still in progress. You keep digging the hole because you're afraid to put down the shovel. Now look at Malaysia's Forest City, a $100 billion eco-city built on man-made islands. It was marketed as a paradise for the global elite. Today it's nicknamed the Ghost City of the South. It was built for 700,000 people. Less than 10,000 live there. Most of them are security guards and maintenance workers tasked with keeping the jungle from swallowing the buildings. You have to ask yourself, who is benefiting here? It's certainly not the residents. It's not the environment. Building these cities requires a carbon footprint so large it's almost unquantifiable. The only winners are the entities that take their fees up front. The architects, the high-level politicians, the construction conglomerates, and the banks that package the debt and sell it to someone else. In the financial world, we call this malinvestment. It's when capital is allocated to things that have no productive value. If I spend $1 billion building a factory that makes medicine, that factory produces value for decades. If I spend $1 billion building a city where no one lives, that $1 billion is effectively gone. It's been turned into concrete that will eventually crumble. This leads us to the dark side of the pandemic. When a country spends 20 years building ghost cities, it creates a fake economy. The construction workers have money to buy groceries, the grocery store owner has money to buy a car, and the car salesman feels rich. But it's all built on a foundation of sand. The moment you stop building the useless cities, the construction workers lose their jobs, the grocery store closes, and the car salesman goes into debt. The government is then faced with a terrifying choice. Do we keep building useless things to keep the fake economy alive? Or do we stop, let the bubble burst, and face a Great Depression? Most governments choose to keep building. Look at Saudi Arabia's The Line, a city 170 kilometers long, mirrored on the outside, cutting through the desert. It is the most ambitious construction project in human history. The cost, estimated at $1 trillion. On the surface, it's a vision of the future, but beneath the surface, it's a desperate attempt to pivot an entire economy away from oil before the clock runs out. But what happens if the world doesn't want to live in a mirrored box in the desert? What happens if the Line becomes the world's most expensive ghost city? If that project fails, it won't just be a line in the sand. It could bankrupt one of the wealthiest nations on Earth. So, what does this mean for you? You might be sitting in a small apartment in London, New York, or Sydney, wondering why you can't afford a house, while there are millions of empty ones in China. The ghost city pandemic is a symptom of global capital misalignment. Money flows to where it can grow the fastest, not where it is needed the most. Because interest rates were so low for so long, investors stopped caring about value and started chasing growth at any cost. They would rather bet on a speculative skyscraper in a ghost city than invest in affordable housing in a city that actually needs it. We are living in an era where real estate has been decoupled from reality. The practical takeaway here is a lesson in the fragility of certainty. For the last 30 years, the world believed that property prices only go up and that the government would never let the construction engine stop. Both of those beliefs are currently being shattered. If you are an investor or someone looking to buy a home, you must look past the shiny facade. A city is not just buildings, it's a heartbeat. If there is no industry, no culture, and no organic reason for people to be there, it's not an investment, it's a liability. Avoid the new shiny object syndrome. Whether it's a new tech hub being built from scratch in a swamp or a luxury crypto village in the tropics, if it requires a build it and they will come narrative, run. The ghost city pandemic is finally reaching its endgame. The era of cheap money is over. Interest rates have risen. The sunk cost is becoming too high to ignore. One day, future historians will look back at our era. They won't just see our digital achievements or our technological leaps. They will find these silent concrete husks scattered across the globe. They will see Burj Al Babas, Forest City, and Kangbashi. They will see them as monuments to a time when humanity had more money than sense. A time when we were so obsessed with the graph of growth that we forgot to build things for people. We spent trillions of dollars trying to outrun the truth that you can't manufacture a community and you can't print prosperity forever. In the end, a city without people isn't a city at all. It's just a very expensive graveyard for a dream that was never real. The lights are off, the streets are quiet, and the bill is finally coming due. The only question left is who's going to pay for it.